This year, 2019, marks the 70th anniversary of the formation of NATO. But what exactly is NATO? What has it done for the world in its 70 years of existence? And is it still relevant today? Well, NATO, or the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, is a military alliance that unites democracies from both sides of the Atlantic. Its goal is to ensure stability and freedom in Europe. The organization's history begins just a few years after World War II, during a time when large portions of Europe lay in ruins. During the war, both the Western Allies, led by the United States, and the Soviet Union liberated large amounts of territory from Germany. In the territories they occupied, the Allies set up or re-established free and independent states, but in the Soviet occupation areas, puppet communist governments were installed with leaders that answered only to Moscow. All this quite understandably concerned Western European countries, who had only just finished a war with the express goal of preventing empire building in Eastern Europe. They feared that without a strong, democratic military presence to deter them, the Soviet Union would use its vast reserves of manpower and enormous military might to forcibly take the rest of the continent and turn all of Europe red. So, in 1949, representatives of 10 Western European countries, as well as Canada and the United States, met in Washington, D.C. and signed the North Atlantic Treaty, formally creating NATO. The most important agreement made by the countries is outlined in the treaty's Article 5. It states that any nation that joins NATO is committed to the tenet of collective defense, meaning that every member of NATO pledges to treat an attack against a single member as an attack against the alliance as a whole. Article 5 has only been invoked once in NATO's 70-year history by the United States after the September 11th attacks in New York and Washington, D.C. During the Cold War, though, collective defense served as a powerful deterrent to the Soviet Union, and the security it gave to member states was attractive to other Europeans not yet in the alliance. In 1952, both Greece and Turkey joined NATO. Turkey's entrance into the alliance alarmed the Soviets greatly. For the first time, NATO had a member that bordered the Soviet Union directly, which allowed NATO to position troops close to the Soviet heartland without having to go through any puppet states. In an attempt to decrease the threat posed by NATO, the Soviet leadership asked to join the alliance in 1954, claiming that their participation would further strengthen the alliance. Shockingly, NATO members who had set up the alliance with the explicit goal of halting the spread of communism rejected this proposal. NATO's rejection of the Soviet offer, combined with West Germany joining the alliance in 1955, prompted the Soviet Union to form its own organization just 9 days later. It was comprised of the Soviet Union itself, as well as its communist puppets across Europe. Officially, it was called the Treaty of Friendship, Cooperation, and Mutual Assistance, but it has become known to history as the Warsaw Pact. If you're interested in learning all about the Warsaw Pact, all you need to do is leave a like down below and tell me in the comments. Also, while you're down there, if you're new here on Super Easy History and like what you see, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell to make sure you catch our next episode. You can also follow us on Twitter at Super Easy History. Right, so back to NATO. In 1966, one of the alliance's largest members, France, left the military command structure of NATO, though they did not leave the alliance itself and remained committed to maintaining collective defense. In 1982, Greece, Turkey, and West Germany were followed in entering the alliance by Spain. Perhaps the most important date in NATO history, at least in terms of gaining new members, is December 26, 1991. On that day, NATO's chief opponent, the Soviet Union, collapsed and was replaced by 15 newly independent states. The Warsaw Pact had also been dissolved earlier that year, resulting in the independence of all of the Soviet Union's Eastern European client states. Many of these states went on to join NATO. East Germany had already become a part of it in 1990, before the Soviet Union's collapse, when it reunited with the West. The Czech Republic, Hungary, and Poland all joined in 1999. Bulgaria, Romania, Slovakia, and Slovenia joined in 2004. Also in 2004, Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania, 3 countries that have been an integral part of the Soviet Union itself, joined NATO. They were followed by Albania and Croatia in 2009, and upon Albania's acceptance into the alliance, all former Warsaw Pact members, except for the Soviet Union's successor state, Russia, have become members of NATO. The last country to join NATO was Montenegro in 2017, though 4 countries, Bosnia and Herzegovina, Georgia, Ukraine, and North Macedonia, are all currently in the process of joining the alliance. So that's NATO, the military alliance that has ensured relative peace and stability in Europe for 70 years. But will NATO continue to expand and remain relevant as we continue into the 21st century? Share what you think in the comments below, and if you enjoyed, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to Super Easy History.